Hi Aquarius, welcome to your mid-May Tarot and Astrology reading. The new moon in Gemini is receiving support from your original, traditional, still co-ruler Saturn in your sign. And what's so beautiful about this is that the new moon provides a new platform for you to repair and rebuild where you were feeling creatively in a drought or romantically in a drought. With Saturn in your sign, it is pushing you to grow. You are a sign that thrives in chaos. And oftentimes chaos is this amazing transformational energy for you. It's this catalyst for change, for rebellion, for destroying the traditional that is toxic. But I think for a lot of you, you are quite simply regarding love and regarding your creativity. You're tired of being the catalyst for other people's change. You would just like to be accepted for you. And there's this conception with Aquarians that when people get too close, you always push away. And that's just not the case. You so want to be accepted for who you are. And the thing about your relationships, Aquarius, is that oftentimes people come in that need your kind of transformation, and you're like this karmic soulmate that changes them and puts them on their way. And sometimes that's exhausting because you would just like to be loved for you. And so there lies the new moon in Gemini, supported by Saturn, that if love or authentic creativity is something that you want to draw more authentic and real energies in for, then this is the time to do it. The new moon is very supported by your own energy, and as the air signs in the sky, so much Sun in Gemini, new moon in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, the North Node in Gemini, conjunct Mercury's ruler on Gemini's ruler on the 28th. So much is going on for you in love, and with the North Node, it's actually very healing. Venus may be retrograde in your romantic sector, and this is, of course, the most likely for feeling through some creative roadblocks, but also for the return of people that you have invested in, whether it is creatively or whether it's romantically, where you've invested a part of yourself. And I think anyone who does return at this time, you have transformed them in some way. Just the experience of you in their life has transformed them in some way, and that can be good. It can also be unhealthy for you, but it depends really. I wouldn't put a blanket ban on all the exes for Aquarians, because some may be very much aware that there was nobody else like you. And I think that's one of the hardest lessons that they maybe had to learn. So, you know, on this channel, I'm not into the clickbait of exes returning. I think it's manipulative. But the astrology is very clear that in terms of romance and in terms of creativity, don't forget creativity, it's the most beautiful energy you can utilize, is to create your own reality. As such a future-oriented sign, as a sign that is in such sync with the universe, you understand that a lot of the time you have this eye into the future and you're on to the next thing before everybody else is caught up, which is where love again comes in. I think you're maybe on to the next thing while somebody else is just catching up. Let's have a little look and see, shall we, Aquarius? Before we begin, the Nine of Swords, the air energy in the sky that is very potent can, of course, with Saturn in your sign in particular, now in retrograde, can cause some sleep deprivation initially, can cause some anxiety initially. Be gentle with yourself. It's okay not to feel okay all the time. And you will feel good again. It's a very unusual time, and I know that you have this rebellious spirit and you want to crack open the structures and you want to show people where they're not listening to their intuition, where they're being manipulated, where there's mass manipulation. I know that you want to fight all of that, and I know that you want to change the world for the better, and you will, because Saturn is doing so much of that in your sign. And despite the backpedal, it's still going to happen. You're just being asked to revisit some stuff for yourself. You know, the first house is where you need to look after yourself. As much as you want to destroy certain aspects of the way society is being run, you also have to look at where your own habits, your own personal perception of self could do with some tweaking. The world, Saturn. And there, of course, is your energy up in the corner, Aquarius, complete with Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus, all the fixed signs. Karmic lessons are at play. What goes around comes around. Queen of Swords, Seven of Wands, Three of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords. Interesting. Somebody that hurt you a lot comes back around, especially around the new moon. And why? Because they want to reconnect. What's underneath? Two of Cups. They really want to reconnect. Okay. 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 So the new moon is in many ways asking you to forgive. In many ways, it's asking you to say enough is enough. In many ways, we understand with Saturn in the first, and something that you will discover when Pluto moves into Aquarius, one of the things you will discover that Capricorn is currently going through, you should talk to them about it. Saturn has such a place to connect you and Capricorn at the minute. You should talk to them, because Pluto in the first is showing them how oftentimes being born is death. There is not one without the other. Birth and death are so connected that oftentimes it's probably very confusing for the higher spiritual realms to understand why we celebrate one and not the other. Right? And we did not ask for either. But what this hand is telling you, Aquarius, is that Saturn in your sign is hurting just a little. The North Node in your romantic sector, the South Node of Karma in your 11th house of friendship also suggests that people from the past that you maybe thought you would never talk to again, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot for Aquarians to burn bridges with their friends. It takes a very, very heavy duty kind of war. It takes a real injustice. The people from your past that want to reconnect, I think, have hurt you tremendously. It could be that they were a fellow air sign, it could be they were a Libra, a Gemini, or another Aquarius. It does not matter what sign they were, they hurt you deeply. And the North Node energy in your romantic sector, also your sector of children, is asking you, where was this an act of hatred? Was it an act of indifference? Or was it based on not knowing any better? Was it based on childish behavior? Was it based on somebody else's own fears, own illusions of you? Perhaps you were misjudged. But the people that want to reconnect are quite possibly vast in numbers. For many of you, it will be more than just one friend. For many of you, it will be more than just one lover. Venus in the 5th will reconnect you with people from childhood. It will reconnect you with people that you loved, people that you were not even committed to, people that you maybe loved from afar. The energy with such a heavy Gemini sky, Aquarius, is that love is at the forefront of everything. Love and children, love and creativity. Where there is difficulties with one child in particular in your life, the problem may surprise you that it stems from a feeling of loneliness in them that they cannot articulate, and you will understand that energy very deeply as a sign that oftentimes goes through periods where you feel like you're on the outside looking in. The Ten of Swords energy is very much welcome if you have been going through tricky emotional waters, if you have been experiencing, since that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January, a lot of psychological trauma being broken open, and you having to understand yourself, having to understand your pain, trying to rationalize it. A lot of the time, Aquarius, you don't give yourself credit for your own feelings and that you're entitled to have them. I know that you're very forward thinking and you're very enlightened, but you're also human. And that's a reminder that comes through consistently in your cards, is that you're also human. You're connected to everybody else. The moon energy is that maybe in terms of the friendships, the colleagues, the society, all of what hurt you so very deeply was your greatest lesson. You love to bring in change, but you also feel very, very, very hurt by somebody in the past, and the past is not an energy that Aquarians like to bring forward. And it's not an easy energy to let back in. As I say, it's to disconnect from another person completely takes a lot of SHIT on their end for Aquarians to just bid them farewell. And perhaps somebody, yes, the person, the people that want to reconnect really were not fair. And you want to propel forward into the future. But your traditional ruler is retrograde in your sign. And it would like you to have a little look at what could be revisited and what could be forgiven. As much as you would probably kind of like to keep some people out in the cold, there is a need for connection and a need for love. And I think for a lot of Aquarians, there is a very good chance that a love in your life that you are connecting to, or possibly even revisiting, has potential to go into the future, which is where you would like the energies to be focused. There is a strange irritation for Aquarians that the water signs don't always understand, of how you don't really like to bring the past forward. You're the sign, I think, most likely to not go backwards with old loves and old flames. So the Venus retrograde is confusing in many ways. The thing about the new moon in Gemini is that at the same time, Venus and Neptune being in your second house of worth, of money, is in disharmony with your romantic sector. And where anybody made you feel isolated, anybody made you feel less than, anybody made you feel that you weren't worth it, perhaps them returning, be it in your dreams, be it in your day-to-day, be it on your phone, whatever it is that these returns feel like, because they're not always physical. I think for a lot of you, this is back to work and having to see people that actually really, really irritate you. And you just don't want to see them anymore. And maybe it's time to say bye-bye. The third house in the challenge position says that your colleagues and people, you feel quite misunderstood at times. So it would be easy for somebody to come in and feed you the worth that you would like to feel from others. But again, I'm not saying that anybody that returns is good or bad. I'm just saying that it unearths a lot of feelings. But let's not forget the Two of Cups at the bottom here, suggesting that love and connection is a big theme for you right up until August. You deserve a love that makes you feel connected but also gives you your freedom. And you deserve a love that respects your individuality while being in union. because it can be done. And you're very clever. You're very good at figuring out where people want things to go. You really are. And it spooks a lot of people. And as I say, you change a lot of people. You're a lot of people's karmic catalyst. And it would be nice if for once people just wanted to be with you because they like you for who they are, for who you are. And I think that's what's coming around here. In the meantime, there's a lot of stuff from the past that's popping up that you need to figure out, and you need to set a new plan in place, whether you're going forward with an element of it or quite simply just with a lesson from it. Not to repeat the same mistakes, but to bring forward that lesson, because whether you like it or not, you're going to have to bring forward some element of the past, Aquarius, to the future. If I were you, I would keep it the lesson, but again, everyone's circumstances are different. No judgment whatsoever. At least it's interesting, right? I'll see you guys in the June reading. I love you, Aquarius. Take care. Bye-bye.